Folks, I told you episode 9 was going to be crazy. We got so many thoughts and reactions here for Bel-Air. You can't knock the hustle. Episode 9 with I think this may be one of the biggest cameos of all time. Seriously, and maybe there's bias to it, but man, I told you that they had something special for you. I've been sitting on that news for about 3 weeks now, and I gotta instantly say, what did you all think about these cameos from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? Not your adversary here as your official review show for Bel-Air. I'm throwing it right to you, brother, because you didn't know about the news and I did. So what'd you think?
I geeked like a schoolgirl. I was geeking. I can't fake. I saw Aunt Viv and Vine. I was like, like it boosted me. It was so crazy. It was out of left field, but it felt right. Like it was appropriate. I loved the characters that they played. I loved how they exuded that older, wiser woman almost, you know what I mean? Because like Aunt Viv is grown, but it's like they can still impart wisdom, you know, to someone in the community that's a little younger, but has the potential to be great. I loved everything. The execution, like I say, of both of them, and then both of them sitting across from the table, like that whole triangle setup, I thought was brilliant. The phone call that Aunt Viv made, I guess that was Vi, and telling her that that whole dynamic, and how Vi was just like, even though it wasn't the same character, it's like the nuances of the actress came through, because she still gave me that, child, you tripping, like think about it, I'm gonna tell you tomorrow. Like it was just like how Aunt Vi would have did it, you know what I'm saying? So I thought it was great.
Yeah, let's spend a little bit of time on this real quick, because this is a huge deal. First of all, with Daphne and Bernie coming back, and just to be clear, folks, if you do not know, these are the legendary actors who played in the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air original series, played Aunt Vi and Aunt Viv, coming back. First of all, the first thing for me is that this tells you just the respect that they have for this franchise. For them to come back into it, I just gotta call it for what it is now. When you see Daphne coming in here, like that's just not an easy get. That's a big move here, as well as Bernie. So them coming back in any capacity is big, but yet alone having a scene, having a moment, having a woman empowerment conversation that I'm pretty sure there's no way you write the script for them. You say, hey, let us do what we gotta do, and they went in there and they look,
they did that. I
felt moved. The hair in my arms was raised. It was powerful. And whatever bit of reserves that people had about this series, now, if by now, if you made it to episode 9, you still talk about this ain't like that, this ain't like this, their presence on the show only solidifies that they are completely invested in it as well. They don't need money. Come on now. These are OGs in the game. They're good. They're sitting on good. So if they're going to do it, that tells you the respect that they have for the franchise. Also for the creators to say, let's go in there and do what we gotta do. That's just why I said this cameo may be one of the biggest cameos I've ever seen, because they literally have no reason to do this. No reason. Except for the respect.
And that's what I was gonna say, because it's not like it's a Viacom rebooted. We're going through the same channels to literally bring the show back. This is Will on his own. Yo, I got an idea. Are y'all rocking with it? And it gives me the same vibes. Like it really shows the respect they have for him as, I guess, a fellow actor, a creator, and someone that's gone on to do great things from that platform, them being a part of it. So there's that family, oriented energy there already. But it's the respect, because it's like at the end of the day, you could have been on a show that was popping and then somebody jumps into something else, but if the respect wasn't there on set at that time, you might not necessarily want to reinvest, you know what I mean? So it definitely speaks to the respect that they have all for each other, and on Will's end as well, for him to even reach out to say, hey, I think it would be dope if y'all came on, like, on both ends. It really shows the respect for both parties.
Yeah, and I think that, let's be honest, how we look at Aunt Viv is very much on par with how Will looks at them as well too. So I'm pretty sure there was a moment where he says, hey, Aunt Viv and Aunt Vi, I need y'all. And like, and they probably went right into mom mode and didn't even think this was show material. They was probably, what's up, baby? What you need? Oh, no, it's all good. I just need you for the show. You know what I mean? Oh, I want to introduce this idea for you for the show. And they probably was just like, no problem. Get on the jet right now. I'll be there. And it just moved me so much. And like, you know, even knowing the news, seeing this was mind blowing. And you know, the introductory statement of saying you wasn't expected to see the like of us. Ooh-wee. I was like, man. It felt so good, so organic. It did a lot for the show. It did a lot for the character Aunt Viv. And just to be clear, you know, they are members of the Art Council Board of Trustees, playing Helen and Janice. And you know, she gave Aunt Viv 24 hours to make a decision upon accepting the fellowship, which we'll come back to in a second. But this scene right here in this cameo is something that I'm going to go back and watch once we're done recording our review, because it was just that dope. And I hope you guys really, really loved it, embraced it. And jump in the comments and let us know your thoughts about what I'm calling the greatest cameo of all time right now. I'm sorry. Look, and y'all can go ahead and debunk my greatest cameo of all time thing, but just think about how much you feel connected to the franchise. For all the reservations you had about the franchise, about, oh, they don't need to do this, we don't want the show, etc. And even the folks who come in our reviews each and every week hating about the shows, this and that, and negative contents, just think about it now. You have that much respect for the show. You don't think the folks that actually was on the show didn't have just as much, if not more? I mean, y'all did watch the reunion show, right? Where they definitely got out there and they started hashing feelings. So to come back in a capacity at all is huge. But yet to have that moment to say, to almost embrace the new generation of Aunt Viv and saying, like, we got you. You wasn't expecting the like of us, but we're here. And that's that one line is the most telling line, period. You was not expecting the like of us. It's major, bro. I mean, am I reaching, or am I on something?
I mean, I guess it depends on the point of view that one takes. You know what I mean? If I'm looking at it, like I say, from that perspective, as far as the art, the show, who the actresses are, what they mean to the IP overall, how everything kind of intertwines, I agree with you. I thought it was powerful acting. You know what I mean? Like they've been very consistent with that the whole way. The presentation, and I know I say that like every week, but whoever's producing or putting the scenes together, the minds behind that, they earning a check, because it's constantly, they present things in a way, like you said, that you don't see coming, but it's always like it's on point. They had him sitting at the table. She walks in. Weren't expecting to see the likes of us. Boom, there. Like I say, they got the triangle thing going once Aunt Viv sits. The discourse between them all, it's like, it's magic. You know what I mean? And it didn't feel forced. It didn't feel, that's another thing. A lot of times when there's an actor or an artist who hasn't been around for a while, and then it's like they pop back up, it's like, yeah, they look like they've been chilling for a minute. Yeah. These ladies haven't missed a beat.
Ready to go.
The only thing you could say is, okay, they are older than they were before. That's the only thing you could say.
Hey,
you know what I mean? But they showed up.
Say about wine
already. So you feel me? It's
but you bring up a good point about cameos. There are times we see cameos and you totally fanboy out about who the person is. But there are instances where you be like, oh, that person was definitely like just implanted into the scene. Like they collected a check and they're gone. Or the cameo is like not even recorded on set, and they're just like, well, we will confine to where you need this to be just for the sake of whatever the production is. You're not even going to show up. We're just going to do it. By the way, Jabari Banks, who plays Will Smith, in the interview with the Breakfast Club, he mentioned that LeBron James was supposed to be in the first episode in terms of a cameo. And I was like, oh, that would have been interesting. But I think that would have gave a stamp of approval for the franchise, but not in the likes of this. This is a whole different level of stamp of approval. Yeah. Now, I gotta ask you a question before we get into the review. There was a comment in last week's review that said that they want to see Will Smith make a cameo. What's your thoughts?
I think it would be dope. I do think it would be dope. The question would, for me, is how do you do that? How do you insert Will in a way where it doesn't come across cheesy or forced, or like you said, they're implanted just cause. So if they, which like I said, they've been batting 1,000, so I'm sure it'd be no issue. But if they can come up with a way to present or insert him in a particular scene and make it make sense, I think it would just be like, the icing on the cake.
Okay. So my thing is, with him being behind the camera, that and his name clearly attached to the project, that is good enough for me, to be honest. And I love Will Smith. Like, let's not even fake here.
Yeah.
But I was very much vocal about the idea that the cast needed to stand on their own 2 feet. We didn't need them to look like the original cast. We didn't need them to bring back any of the original cast members. We needed them to just use the IP, have the familiarity with who these characters are, and really create a 3-dimensional dynamic character profile in each of them. And thus we're 9 episodes in, and I think we can honestly say that everybody is holding it down. My issue with Will Smith being in it is that the moment you put somebody of his caliber on screen, it becomes about him. And my only caveat to that is that, yes, we see what these two did in this episode in terms of almost not only just embracing but enhancing the character of Aunt Viv. I go back to your point of, I don't see where Will Smith comes in to be able to do that for Jabari Banks's Will Smith and make that a scene that already does what he hasn't already built in 9 episodes. That's just my thing.
Yeah, no, I agree. His appearance runs the risk of taking away from what's already been established. I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
However, if it's done correctly, I think it's just another home run. It's another thing for people to talk about. And just off the top of my head, as you were talking and I'm listening, it like, if they did it something like, say there's a scene where Will is having a conversation with Carlton or whomever, and like say they're walking down the street and it's a homeless guy sitting there, and that happens to be Will, and they walk by, something like that, like a slight, like something real slick where you got to almost double tap, like hold fast, something like that.
Yeah,
will work. You know what I mean? Because it's not too much. It's quick. It's in and out, and it's just enough for people.
More
to be
of an Easter egg than a cameo.
Exactly. Exactly.
You know, I'm a ride on this notion to the day I die. But you know, God bless and rest in peace, James Avery. But man, if he was alive, I would be pitching for that one. That would be the one I want. That some way, like
they could have brought him in on this whole debate piece. That would have been.
I just was going to say that. When they scale the audience, and when Uncle Phil decides to make the decision he made, and we just see James Avery back there like. One of those very candid reactions that we have gotten for years with him. I would have been hoo-wee. But that's just my wish list. Folks, let us know if you could have any returning cast member from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air to come and do a cameo on Bel-Air. Who, how, and why? Let us know in the comments. So let's get into tonight's episode, and we're starting off with Will still bothered about his dad trying to create a door in order to walk through, in order to really go forward with his curiosity about it. And he seeked the help of G the last episode, and which we will get to it in a second, but we know a little bit more why G was more dedicated into providing this for Will. But it's interesting that I think the writing of this episode was like banging, bro, because as much as this moment, and it's crazy to think, now that we've seen the episode, it's crazy to think that this moment was about Will, was really G providing for the family. And what do I mean about that? Because I'm telling you that I'm a big advocate of actions get reactions, and I'm telling you that G's actions here created a ripple effect of reactions throughout the entire family. If G did not do what he did, a lot of different conversations, a lot of different parts of the plot points of this episode does not happen unless he did this. And just remember this as we get down this episode, that G, and I think we got to build G as being one of the most intelligent characters on the show. for what it is. But him doing this, knowing the repercussions, knowing that Will's a kid, we all knew Will was going to do what he was going to do later on in this episode. It's Will. It's a kid, you know, regardless of how talented he is, he's still a kid. I think he's 17 in this.
Yeah.
Of course, G's going to know what he's going to go back and do. But I think, as I said, actions get reactions, and G had the wherewithal to know that this moment was going to send a shockwave through the family, because as we see, a lot of different conversations and effects happen. But it was a really telling moment of a very powerful. There was a lot of powerful moments, and as much as I put a lot of emphasis on the woman empowerment, especially, you know, in the legendary scene that they had, there was a lot of strong black male moments in this. And I got to tell you that G fixing Will's tie, I almost shed a tear there, bro, because I knew exactly what it was. I knew exactly what it was. You remember the first time you got your tie done, right?
Right. And you know who tied my tie the first time?
Who?
My mother.
Oh, really?
Moms.
Really?
Yeah.
And even I don't think it's sex dependent. You just know that moment. You know what I mean?
Moment. Yeah.
Right. And regardless
Absolutely.
of who it is, your little brother, your older brother, whatever it may be, you just remember that moment. And I think why I emphasize on the masculine side of this is because G has not had to have this essentially father-son moment in time to time, because he doesn't have his son. So when he did this is probably the first time that G little armor kind of came down here. He was kind of vulnerable, and it was really telling, dude. What is your thoughts as the first 2 minutes of this episode we get this?
It was, I thought that was dope, and I thought it was very telling, because to me, like, they do a lot of foreshadowing in these episodes, and you could, to me, when seeing that scene set up, all right, Geoffrey's there's gonna be a spotlight on him. It's gonna go to the next level. Their build-up started last episode. They left on a 50-50 cliffhanger. So I wasn't surprised that it picked up with him, but that moment with Will, to me, kind of solidified how the last episode ended. Okay, he's definitely gonna go look for his dad now. He's definitely gonna give him the rundown. Now I like how they did it with the packet. I didn't know he was going to do that. I thought he was going to come back and tell him, like, yo, your dad is here. This is what's going on. My man came with a whole sit rep.
Listen, bro. You know, you called him since day one. My man, Geoffrey Statham came with a 50-page dossier and said, "Your record, sir."
That's it. Then he proceeds to tell him, and I like how he kept it G, because he had to kind of play both sides there. So he was like, "What I will say," I love that, even that choice of words. What I will say is that if you open this, it's gonna affect everybody. Yeah, I mean, I can't really go past. I can't go beyond that, but let that sit. And I like how he even did that. You know, in his mind, knowing that he had to play both sides, knowing that Will is not fully aware of all the elements in motion. So I thought that was brilliant. And then the him in the Uncle Phil moment, OMG.
Now, you know what? I'm going to, for the sake of the time of this review, I'm going to just hit a couple of points, and I'm going to let you decide which ones you want to elaborate on. So we'll get to that, because that's a big point. That's one of my favorite moments of this episode. So at this point now, I actually want to know about the political environment that they're going to walk into in terms of the debate and in terms of everything with the campaign, which is interesting. For her to be that young, she's definitely very much intrigued, but we know why. Uncle Phil has basically told the family, be on your P's and Q's, no family drama, which also is a very funny thing that he said. We need to be a big, happy family, no drama.
Exactly.
Okay,
right
sir.
At next scene.
Okay, sir. Hillary and Punk going into the church. Oh, and that's right, my bad. And Ashley's in Ashley's statement, she was also talking about in terms of the church as well too. So just everything, just her awareness about reading a room is a very brilliant thing for a character at that age. Understand it, and obviously being an advocate for LGBTQ plus folks. So that I think that's a very telling thing, that instead of her just being curious, she's also educating herself. which we saw that Aunt Viv at some point basically said, "Hey, why are you so curious about this now?
Yeah.
What can I do to become an outlet for you?" Aunt Viv doing Aunt Viv things, man. Going back to the church real quick. Hillary runs into another influencer. She talks about collabing. A little bit of shade there. Not sure how that's going to play out, but we'll see. On the other end, Uncle Phil is also pushing law school back on her again. So she's still having that tug of war while she's also trying to remove herself from the influencer house with the help of Jazzy Jeff, who she trusts. Even in the height of other things happening, she trusts and says, keep it on the low. And I think that I actually don't know what I think. I'm gonna let you, if you decide you want to talk about that, I'm gonna let you give some feedback in that. Going back to the church again, Carlton back in the choir, shutting it down for a moment. It really gave me chills.
I was just saying too, I was like, I know I said a few reviews ago, a few episodes back, Carlton was my favorite character, but it continually solidifies like every episode. I said, "Damn, my man can sing too." And then he got up the dress, started singing. I was like, "No, I rock with her. That's my bad."
Yeah. I wasn't sure exactly what was happening. I was like, man, did the hand of God touch him? And he was getting ready to have that Holy Ghost moment, so he had to get off the altar for a second. But obviously, he's still dealing with he's a high functioning. He's high functioning. There's a proper terminology for this, and I extremely apologize if I'm incorrect. But he's high functional person with anxiety, however the terminology is. But he's suffering with anxiety, but highly functional. And this was a moment where he was struggling, where he did not take his medication, but he was able to confront that and confine in that with Will, which was a moment. It was. So I love that. I love that moment. I love that moment between him and Will, where they could just put the BS down and just be real with each other, and then for Will to be able to show support, like, y'all know stuff is kind of awkward, and Lisa and you know what I mean, but I'm here for you. We still family, brothers, man. Finally, the camaraderie is building, bro.
It is. I like the way, to me, again, the way the scene was set up when they got into the church. I figured something was going to happen to that effect, where Carlton's voice was going to crack or something was going to happen. They set that up kind of, and I don't know if they were trying to be obvious on purpose, but they kind of set that up for me. What I didn't see coming is how the conversation with Hillary then transitioned into Will coming in and then saying what he said to him, and Carlton responding the way he did, because he could have just been like, "Yo, leave me alone, get out," but he kind of stopped and was like, "What are you getting at?" And then he's just like, "I don't even like telling people about this because I have anxiety about the anxiety, but
man,
you feel me?" And it just kept it a buck with him. And then for Will at that point, again, like, ball's back in your court. So, you know, you could be an ass and clown him for it, or crack jokes, or, "Yo, we fam, I'm here." And then I like how he said, he was like, "Yo, it won't be so heavy if you let me carry it with you. Like, I got you.
Yeah.
If you feel such a way, holla at me. If you feel like you about to go do A, B, and C, come holla at me." And then for that to bear fruit later in the episode, where he actually does come back to him, like, "I thought about what you said and I flushed it. And that's the wave I'm about to be on." So I thought all of that was very dope.
Yeah, I mean, also with Carlton putting emphasis about the weight of the world from his dad and the pressure he puts on him, and how that also contributes to his anxiety. I think with Will's statement in response to that, by basically saying, like, if we can be brothers, then we can actually bear this weight together. I mean, I'm an only child, but man, I was like, that's what, you know, what brotherhood means right there. That's really dope. And I mean, like Uncle Phil, we'll talk about in a second. And to kind of say putting that type of pressure on your kids is wrong, if that's what anybody's narrative may be. But I mean, look where that's kind of playing, how that's playing an effect, where you're having the two of them hold themselves accountable, but also sticking together. They were foes for about 5 episodes, and look what's happening now.
And that's the thing, that's the whole family element. Like, that's what I'm saying. The show is brilliant on so many levels, bro, because it highlights so many different aspects all at once with the ridiculous consistency. The theme all about, if you really are paying attention, it's family. and he just gives it to you from different angles. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's we're loving, we're beefing, we're supporting each other, we're covering each other's tracks, where there's so many various elements of family dynamics and how it really works in a real family. And in this case, this is a wealthy family, and the assumption in most cases is people with the money are more well off. They're more A, B, and C. And it's like, no, we might be more comfortable financially, but that's where it stops. We're still humans. We still go through stuff. We still, things still go left. And you get to see that certain situations come up that money can't fix.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like you got to really deal with it like real people, like everyday people.
Yeah. And the biggest thing is money's, I mean, take it however you want. But money's not going to help you cope with these emotions, folks. Sometimes you're going to have to just talk it out. And that's what we're seeing on display. A lot of conversations of heavy moments throughout this episode. You definitely nailed it on that. So I'm not even going to emphasize anymore. Although also something that was very funny, Carlton talked about the reason why he had that sort of meltdown is because he was unable to eat the entire day. I know that sounds like an excuse, but if you actually look through the episode, Will also was not able to eat the entire day. Every single time he was trying to get a meal, they was like, go, do this, do this. Tried to get cereal. He said, take an apple. He tried to get a chicken and waffles. Hillary said, so go check on Carlton. They were just doing it wrong, man. The struggle.
They had to throw the soup Nazi in there. No soup for you.
Going to debate prep here now. This is a scene, and again, if you want to emphasize this, all I'm gonna say is that G was in the back of the room, laser beaming Uncle Phil, and Uncle Phil said, "Speak your mind," and then he got up there and said a couple of things, and then he said, like, "All right, I apologize. Maybe that's not the energy we need in here right now," but it was.
But I didn't lie.
Yeah.
You feel me? I might have spoke out of turn, but I ain't lie.
Yeah. And I think the gears start to turn here for Uncle Phil. So this is where interesting enough, this is where we see Uncle Phil preparing for a debate, but actually in a mental one currently. Because if you see right now, you have two sides of the coin upon not only to how to approach the debate, but how to approach life. That's all I gotta say. You want anything you want to jump in here?
I think again, it's brilliant. It shows the layers of the layers or the depth to which the character is being brought to in the plot. You have on the surface, wealthy guy, public office, running, campaign, had a couple hiccups, but he doing this thing. Boom, now he's poised to do this debate and possibly take the victory. But then on the deeper level, and I guess that more so comes out with his later discussion with Geoffrey, but the points that he hit on was all facts. It's like, all right, bro, you're doing your thing, but as someone that knows you, has been able to observe you, and someone that loves you and your family, every time you get on a wave to do your thing, everybody gets crushed under you. And in many cases, it's people that love you. You know what I'm saying? I thought that was very telling and very accurate. I think that's something a lot of people, everyday people, can relate to even. You know what I'm saying? You might not be running for office. You might just be a regular 9-to-5 person, whatever. But you have that going on. But all of the issues that are probably going on in your home or in your life or in whatever situation you're in, mentally, your day-to-day, are you sparring within yourself? Are you coming to a decision? Are you reneging on decisions you said you would make? It's so much, like, and I feel like it's relatable. They just present it on a grander scale with the political race and with him having to kind of manage his family. But I thought all that was very real, and I love, again, Uncle Phil's presentation of it, where he's going back and forth. He's telling him, all right, speak your mind. You both give me a lot to think about it. And again, all the cinematic elements, the desk, the walking back and forth between him and Dwayne Martin, then walking back around, sitting, the camera angle of the him at the desk, like the uneasy rest the crown kind of thing, and that angle of, now I got to make a decision. It all plays together. So I think, again, they're the brilliant minds at work.
Dude, I got to be honest, because you're probably wondering like what's going through my mind as I like look down for a second. I gotta be honest, like I love doing reviews, I love doing recaps, I love working with you, I love our team at Big Old Belt Media. We out here, we doing what we do, and I rarely like things, and I'm just happy with that, with just liking it and just doing the work. But I tell you, the more and more I watch this show, the more and more I have conversations with you with this, the more and more I'm positioning myself to say, like, I rarely do this, but like I'm willing to go out on the limb to defend this show. Like, period. I get it. I get it. It's a hot IP, and I know for all the reservations I had coming into it, I am absolutely willing to go out on the front line to defend this show, because you are this scene alone, as you said, and I haven't even really got to the big point of this episode where I want to talk about, but like absolutely right. You literally are right about every single thing, and I cannot find a reason why somebody can come in and say like, "Oh, I don't like this." I make it make sense to me.
I don't know.
And I don't know if it's, obviously what we know is for the culture.
Yeah.
So like, if that's not something you chant, then I can understand why that may be something that you don't like this. But if it is something you chant, then this should be a no-brainer that this is something that you should love. And I will say that as much as shows like to follow traditional slanderous tropes, every single time that you think it's going to go that route, it doesn't. I'm ready to get to the biggest scene. I mean, right now is the scene obviously where the OG Aunt Viv and Aunt Viv returns. I feel like we spent 10 minutes of it in the beginning, so I'm just gonna say that the only thing with this is the ad is that they asked her, why did you stop painting, and they basically told them to say, hey, we know, but we want to hear what you said. We already made our decision. You have 24 hours, get back to us. It's by policy, so don't call us beforehand, even though it happened, but by policy. It's a very strong scene, and I will go back to watch it again. And if there's any other little tidbits and stuff I have about it, we'll be back next week on the finale to talk about it. But let's get to the scene now where Will comes to Uncle Phil with the dossiers. I'm calling the documents. And at this point now, I'm literally wrote in all caps, he threw my man G under the bus. Crazy.
But unknowingly.
Yeah, and I think it has to be that way because he's still 17. He's immature. And I think that while there was good in this, it also had a reaction. But come on now, as I said in the beginning, you don't think G already knew this was going to happen?
Exactly.
Come on now. He knew, what time it was.
Yeah, and it was crazy. Like, I may have to go back and watch it again, like you said. Like, I don't know. I guess I'm 50-50 on it. I feel like maybe part of him did anticipate Will reacting the way he did and that conversation coming full circle. But I don't know. Maybe part of him felt like, he might open it and look through it, and then whatever it is from there is from there. I don't know. I mean, I guess you're right. I mean, I guess he, at somewhere in his mind, he probably anticipated it. But I thought it was interesting that Will did decide to just not look into it.
Yeah, protect your peace, King.
And I think it was. I mean, it could have been a number of things, but I think the main thing could have been Geoffrey's response to him when he gave him the envelope. Like, all I can say is, if you do open it, it's repercussions behind it once you start reading through it. Yeah, I mean, take what you will from that.
Yeah, and the way I look at it is that, like, I mean, somebody who's just so immersed in intel, he always got to think about all the possibilities. So it was a little brain that he thought it was going to happen. But Will did it, and it was a very I don't know what word I want to use here, but it was a powerful moment. But I think for Will, it was also more of a relieving moment potentially, because he said that, you know what, I have this, but I don't want to open it because Uncle Phil, you've been more of a father than anybody else in my life, which was a strong, powerful moment.
I got mad at that though. I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna tell you why. Because yes, what Will says is true. However, if I'm looking at the whole picture, Uncle Phil is at least 50% responsible for why he's the man in his life that he ended up being. It's partly Uncle Phil's doing. Now, we don't know what happened. They haven't revealed it yet, but clearly he had a hand in something. So it's like, on one hand, you looked out for me. You've been the father figure. You've shown me the ropes. You've pulled me into your world and shown me how to navigate it. But on the other hand, it's like, no, you the reason my father not around. So hold up. You feel me? So I felt like it was kind of perverse, slightly.
Right. That's a great word. I'm not even going to touch it. That's a great word. Absolutely nailed it there. So at this point now, like you said, he's happy and he didn't want to impede in that. So he decided to just forego the information and go forward with it. I'm gonna hit a couple of points because I want to get back to this point again. Carlton admitting that he flushed the meds. Thank you, Will. Don't need those. This is where Lisa start to get the truth about why he left Philly. Honestly, I don't think this was a big deal. This is the scene I didn't like because Lisa, she felt betrayed because her dad told her one thing. She riding with Will did not tell her, and although she may feel, the lack of trust because of that, I don't think it was a big deal for them not to be able to talk it out and dissolve for what it is. I mean, yes, she got the mud shots and whatnot, and she wanted to know who he really is and why was he here or whatever. And like I said, her dad said he got in trouble, and even Carlton tried to come to his defense, which I thought was telling as well too. But I just don't think at the point after they had the conversation of saying like you're finally being honest and whatnot, it should not dissolve in a matter of like my dad was right, I can't be around you, you're trouble, because what he did. Go for it.
I think. I personally I thought she super way overreacted. Like I didn't think it was that serious. I mean,
that's where I'm at with it.
It's for but given the fact that it's for the show, they had to throw the scene in there. I thought it was cool because what started as a rant or a expression of being upset ended up being a warning. So she goes, because remember, a picture's worth 1,000 words. When she sees the mugshot, she has no context. All she knows is he's holding up these numbers, and she got the front and the side profile. So she's thinking anything. Then my dad said there was a gun involved. So she's probably thinking worst case scenario, he busting heads. For sure. When she asked, and she's asked, well, did you shoot anyone? And he doesn't, and I liked how he didn't even really go into detail, because in his mind, it's probably like, it doesn't even matter. If I explain the whole story, I don't know if it's going to change her mind. So it's just like, I shot a gun in the air to stop a fight. And I guess that's as best as he could have said it. Keep it simple, short and sweet to the point. But where she goes, thank you for being honest with me, you see the moment of her kind of calming down. Like it was like, he lied to you, but it wasn't like anything crazy. But I guess as far as character relations go, that scene had to happen because she had to express her disdain. There had to be the public display of you lied to me. And then there had to be the recovery. I'll tell you everything. This went like this. I did this. Uncle Phil did it. And then she goes, well, you can't be mad at anybody or about what happens after this point. You did it. And then right after that, she goes, well, my dad knows, and he did it. And it ends up becoming a warning anyway. So it's like he's still able to rein her in and bring, and get her back on the level. So I thought that was good.
Overreaction for sure. First of all, for somebody who is, I feel like a display of empathy should have been displayed here. A display of empathy should have been the case here, because for Lisa, one, you also know like how the cops treat black people. We just seen it 2 episodes ago where you stepped up to prevent those things from happening. So that Will essentially fired off this shot to protect him and his homie, got the jail time. You can't be mad at his uncle for bending the law to prevent him from being a product of the streets.
And I don't think she was mad at that. I think she was mad that it was ammo that could be used against him that makes Will get reflected in a negative light. That's why, because that's what I took from it, where she goes, you can't be mad about what happened. You did it. True. But then she doesn't say it in a damning way. She goes, my dad knows. So I think like she was more mad that the father knows than anything else.
Got it. Folks, I'm curious to know your stance here. Like, to me, the scene, I just thought that the overreaction kind of like drowned it for me and whatnot. I love Lisa too, the character. I'm really liking the performance. I'm really liking what it brings to the show. But I just think like I don't feel like. I feel like there should have been a sense of keep the same energy here. Like, I get it that he lied, but at the same time, like, he's not a bad person. and what his uncle did for him, I also don't think it's bad too. I mean, to me, I'm like, damn, that's one up for us, because like that never happens. Like we are literally in jail all the time. I mean, for whatever the smallest thing could be. Yeah. So, you know, the fact that he got out and he got a second chance and he is not a threat to society or anything, and he got out of the hood and he is alive. I mean, come on now.
Living his best life.
Yeah, and I get it. He lied because it's embarrassing. Also, he's young and he had a gun and he didn't want to make the decisions he did, but like he did it to protect himself, and here we are.
Yeah, and remember under Uncle Phil's direction. Yo, I know Lisa's cool, but you know, keep that under wraps. And like I said, I think we had touched on that like episode 1 or 2 or something. It's the same thing. It's like, even if you feel like the policy is selfish, it's necessary for the greater good.
Yep. Thank you. Yep. So with that information that they got from Lisa, Carlton Will did rush off to the campaign to deliver the intel, which obviously changed things, but that's not the real reason why things changed, because that's not what I feel it was. But we'll come with that in a second. Now back to the point that I've been waiting to get to. Well, now that G steps back into the office and Uncle Phil, the dossier is on the desk. Where'd you get that from? He asks. And I think, to me, and you all can, you know, yourself and the audience here, you can let us know, what do you think he meant when he said, where'd you get that from? To me, this was a sense of like, he wanted to just know how it was delivered, not like a sense of, oh my God, you got
caught. Yeah, I got
I think he wanted to know, how did it happen? Did he come forward? And that was the answer. He came forward with it. Or did you snoop it out? Whatever it may be. So I think, you know, very little small tidbit there, but also, you know, pays dividends as to how this played out. Now, before I get into it, this is where I say, like, how they decide to avoid slanderous tropes. 2 black men in a disagreement. What happens here, sir? 9 times out of 10.
Guns blaze not long after. Or punches get thrown. One of the
yelling, fighting, arguing,
inflammatory comments,
all sorts of different things. Other folks, all the other people, the aid of the other family have to come into it. They didn't do that. What was powerful is that you had 2 black men have a conversation and express emotion and respect disagreements, even in the act of termination, to say, you're fired because I can't trust you. Hey, that seems a little bit drastic. Let's just say I had a family emergency. That's not pride. That's respect. And he says, you're right. I understand that. And they both shed tears and rolled out. I mean, I ain't gonna lie, man. I was like, oh, man. Thug cry, bro. Like, damn, bro. That was a fucking powerful scene. Like, oh, my God. Why are they doing it to me all episode? Man, episode 10, man, you got a tough one to follow, bro.
It was dope. I loved it. I thought the acting was very powerful. What I loved about it was the fact that, again, you have employer-employee surface relationship, but under that, you have essentially what I would say brothers. You know what I mean? And nothing short of a brother in that display. I like how Geoffrey was able to outline and give Uncle Phil specific examples of everything he was saying. In today's world, bro, the cognitive dissonance is real. You can be talking to somebody about apples, let's say. Yo, apples, red skin, you know, stem on the top, etc., etc. And their response will be, yeah, but the oranges over there we not talking about that. And so many times people do that, you know, what I call the politician dance, where they dance in circles and never really deal directly with what's being said or what's being discussed. Whatever the issue is at hand, you trying to flip it and turn it into something else. So I love how Geoffrey is like, I'm saying this, I'm not pulling it out of thin air. Let me give you a couple examples. Boom, 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 but with every family member. That's Phil got heated when he got to Hillary. But as he's getting mad, tears are coming down his eyes. Now, why would you be crying if my man wasn't giving you nothing but the pure, unadulterated truth? Because you know what he's saying is real. And it's coming from a place of love. It's coming from someone that you would consider a brother or a trusted confidant or whatever. And the fact that Uncle Phil was not able to deny or skirt the details, like once the argument came to a boiling point, the man is in tears, decides that, all right, well, we should kind of, you know, separate. Then shakes his hand. That's the thing, right? I ain't never seen nobody get fired and shake hands afterwards. So he shakes his hand. You feel me? All right, we'll just say it was a family emergency. Boom, 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 boom. And then he sits down in the chair again, back to the same angle, desk, chair, and he has that moment of clarity before the debate. Everything hits him. Yo, everything that man just said before he walked out was 100% factual. I can't deny it. I won't even try to. And then I love how in the next scene where it goes to the debate and everything, how Uncle Phil acts. Because remember, before he leaves, he leans in and whispers in his ear, "Prove me wrong, Phil."
Right.
Prove me wrong.
And that's the thing. Prove me wrong. What does that mean? It's confronting the truth. Mm-hmm. And Uncle Phil's initial reaction was, "Why, man? Like, what you getting at?" Right. When anybody talk about holding themselves accountable, that's like hell you getting at there. You know what I mean? But exactly. Like you said, he went from talking about, "Hey, I hired you as my protection," to "No, I do protect you, but I also have to protect the family." And sometimes that comes into crossroads here. And whether you recognize that or not, that's what it is.
Exactly.
And then when he said that, he threw a shot and he basically said, "You left your own boy. So is that why you side with Lou?" And that obviously was a low blow, but also it was also some truth as well too. Yeah. You're the way the lens of the world may sway your opinions to certain reactions, which this is the second episode that we see that, you know what I mean? And then he also talked about something that this has been my biggest thing that I really couldn't put into words, is that Uncle Phil, as he continues to succeed and reaches his goal, the finish line keeps moving. I think that's a brilliant tactic. I think we all should have that, continue to build and reach our different levels of success. But he says that when you do that, you drown everyone else's dreams around you at the expense of your own. And then
for me, it's full, and this Full Metal Alchemist is one of my favorite animes. The reason being, I mean, aside from the animation and the fight scenes, it's all great. But the reason I think I fell in love with it is because that is one of the realest or best instances or presentations of equivalent exchange. The concept of alchemy and how it breaks down and trading one for another, that literally plays perfectly into this episode, or even the overall, just the whole arc, where you're sacrificing energy, time, and effort to get to this place. And this place is great. It's a place a lot of people would like to be. You live comfortable, but the cost of that now, are you gonna sacrifice your family? It's like it's equivalent exchange. They say it's lonely at the top. Certain people work they behind off to get where they are, but in the process of that, they literally destroy anything close to a personal life, because you can't have both. You can't be Jay-Z and then be cool with everybody on the block and be chilling every day. It's not gonna happen. So you whatever choice you're making in whatever direction you move, there's always that element of equivalent exchange. How much work did I put in, equivalent to how much reward I get out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. You cooking it up there,
so
much truth though.
We in the kitchen, we chefing. We chefing, whip it.
But this is the moment of truth where G says, confront the truth. And like I said in the very beginning, I mean, actions get reactions. You have to think that they don't even have this conversation if he didn't do what he did earlier. There's no firing, there's no heart to heart. It's just him any regular day preparing for the campaign. We'll get to a campaign in 1 second. But Aunt Viv, then again, she makes the call. She's nervous. They have the conversation, but she's nervous because, again, she's really putting the family up front and putting her dreams to the side. And even though Uncle Phil completely endorses it, said, "Do what you got to do." I mean, this reaction, this conversation does not happen unless G did what he did in the beginning of the episode. Uncle Phil has a change of heart, and I know, yes, he is pro Viv, and I know folks are coming to him in terms of what his support for her. But think about how the dynamic of this relationship is going. She has the biggest opportunity of her life, and she immediately says, first thing she said too was that my husband is getting ready to win the DA, and I just don't know. So obviously we see that him, yet the family forefront. She's just looking to find reasons to self-sabotage and whatnot.
And that's That was what they argued about 1 or 2 episodes ago. Literally, it was just that's what
Yeah.
Uncle Phil was talking about. So it's like you
Right.
got to see it in real time. Yeah.
Right. Yep. But he says go for it. And again, I do think that at times he was selfish, but let's be clear now. Selfless and he has to be selfish at times in order to achieve the goals he had to do. And I think G called it for what it is. So like I don't think it's so much of a divide at this point. I just think they have a functional relationship that they understand how it works, and there's sacrifices being made. There are times of being selfish, but yeah, it's for the better good of the family. The family's always in the forefront no matter what it is, which we see again. The decision in the end of this episode doesn't happen unless G tells him that, hey, you realize some of the things you did in the past, right? And how that affected everyone around you. So now I need you to realize that before you do anything that you do beyond this point going forward. Confront the truth here. And examples, as you said, across the whole family.
Yes, so. And I think that's what Aunt Viv needs. She needed to see him do that, because it's one thing for him to tell her, yo, babe, I got it, I'm straight. But she ain't believe it. So she still was about to call and throw her opportunity away. So it wasn't until, like you just said, selflessness, where he stepped, all right, I'm in front of the camera, lights, camera, action, crowd is right there, family's right there. Yo, you know what? I'm not even about to do this show no more, man. And then he walks straight over and tells her, you better not tell them people no.
Yeah, love it. I love it. Yeah, and you're right. You know, the needs, and like he said, in him withdrawing from the race and endorsing Fred Wilkes, he says, you know, the needs of the family above their own desires. And they looked at Aunt Viv, and that's what she is the embodiment of. And he said that I'm not going to continue to be the chain in these actions. And while they sound noble, but as they said, at times it has also been about you, where you are really going to make the sacrifice in order to display for them. It's really good. And again, none of this happens without G. And I think at the moment of Aunt Viv being scared to pursue her dreams, I think that's a foregone factor now.
Yeah, exactly. That's what she needed. And I also think it was very smart, a smart play on Uncle Phil's part to drop out the way he did, because he understood. You could see it from the time when Will and Carlton got to him and said, yo, he knows. You could see it in his face. He was cooking up something. And then even when she introduces them and she's like, yeah, he's going to give the opening statement, he pauses for a few seconds and he's running every play in his head right at that moment. And then it's like, you know what? I could go in. I could expose everybody. I can pull out pictures. But again, the alchemy. If I go hard like that, what's the fallout? What's the result? I might damage some things that I can't repair. I might damage things for family members that I can't repair. Yeah. So he kind of weighed the lesser of two evils and was like, yo, let me just fall back. And then also, remember, the reason for the debate in the first place was to maintain the Democratic vote. So if they're going at each other's neck, they're giving a race away. And that was his concern in the last episode. So it still would have came full circle if they would have went at each other's neck.
Yep. Folks, I know this is one of our longest review recap shows because this was just that type of an episode. If anybody is a fan of any type of series, you know that episode 9 in the 10 episode season is always the biggest one, and they delivered here. But obviously the finale's next week, and you know we're going to be here for that. But before we get to that, folks, jump in the comments, let us know all your thoughts, your reactions, your favorite scenes, some of the things that we talked about. Give us some of your thoughts on those points. And, you know, continue to rock with us because we're having a fun time doing this, and we truly appreciate you all being along for the ride. But as I said, folks, not Jared and Adversary. We're here each and every week with Bel-Air Review Recap Show. We love y'all, and we'll see you back next week for the finale. Thank you for tuning in.
Peace.
Peacock.